Greetings, gourmands and gluttons. It's time again for Eater's Digest. A couple of notes at the top of the hour. Sorry about last week's or last month's edit. We're working on it. We're ironing out some kinks. And also sorry for going with 86 and fire. The word fire is tripping up a lot of people. I understand. We're switching it. It's now 86 and chef's kiss. Hopefully that makes things a little bit easier. First order of business is a big chef's kiss to hermits and introverts who shall inherit the fast casual dining experience. Food lockers and technology help boost restaurant carryout sales. Industry trends show that increased interest in curbside or carryout channels for traditional full service restaurants. This is the big thing. People want to order in an app and just go pick it up, even if they don't get it delivered. So this is the Whataburger digital kitchen. It's not a store. Like, you can't go in, there's no seating, there's no in-restaurant dining, there's no drive-through, and it's intended to minimize the wait time, and it's intended to keep customers buying product during a time where people have less disposable income. The quote from President and CEO Ed Nelson is, "Making Whataburger quicker and more convenient for our guests means fully embracing the digital restaurant experience, but not forgetting who we are at our core, a hometown Whataburger." I don't know if you grew up in a Whataburger town, probably not, especially if you're not Texan, but the whole point of being a neighborhood Whataburger was like providing this place to show up at 2 a.m. and enjoy a hot honey butter chicken biscuit while trashed. So it's a little bit sad. Another chef's kiss goes out to poor restaurant practices. Yelp, the crowdsourced business review website, is cracking down on businesses that solicit reviews either through discounts or freebies. There's a link on Yelp's trust and safety section of their website, and it allows for a wall of shame. It's essentially a list of businesses with suspicious business practices that solicit reviews. More recent reason for the push to punish businesses for illicit review practices is the rise of artificial intelligence tools. So it's very, very easy for AI to just make 1 million fake reviews. You still do get fake reviews on Amazon all the time, but they were pretty easy to spot out. It was like broken English, very short sentences, but now with AI, they're a lot better. They're a lot harder to sniff out. Well, I don't have a whole lot of hope for Yelp saving the day, but the poor restaurant practice shame continues, especially when it comes to LA food fees. This is an Entrepreneur article by Emily Rella. The new norm, viral document exposes hidden charges on restaurant bills, from service fees to health and happiness fees. And this basically all started from a big Reddit page called the LA Restaurant Surcharge Offenders List. My big gripe with this article straight off the bat is that they highlight Sugarfish, and anybody who's ever been to Sugarfish knows that they don't tip. You're not allowed to tip there. It even says on the receipts, like, do not tip. We are a tip-free establishment. That's why we charge such a high service fee. Sugarfish, there's no tipping. So to act like, oh, 16% fee plus you have to tip at the end of it, I don't feel like that's very fair. Here is the list, by the way. Some of these fees you can kind of expect at any restaurant, like corkage fee or large party fee, but now you're starting to get a little bit more vague with something like health and happiness fee, medical benefits. When you see these employee comments, there's actually employees in this spreadsheet who are just like, yeah, they say that this is for healthcare. We do not get health insurance. This is just a complete lie. Like right here, look, a 4% charge is added to all checks. The employee says 4% does go to the employees, but the owner now pays employees 4% less. Here's one fee that I do support. They have a bottomless mimosa brunch, but if you throw up, you get a $50 vomit fee. This is not just a US problem, by the way. The restaurant fees continue to be a battleground, and this applies to some of the most beloved UK establishments. The pub. At certain pubs in the UK, a pint of plain will cost 25% more on a Saturday night. I think surge pricing is a little bit of a misnomer, but it's something that's familiar to Uber users because we're familiar with Uber surge pricing. The decision to adopt dynamic pricing comes after Stonegate reported a $28.7 million loss for the first half of the year due to Britain's cost of living crisis. Prices for goods, for groceries, for beer, they already fluctuate. Last time I was talking about dynamic pricing at the grocery store, and the author wrote, imagine a world where you're shopping for bread and the bread that's a day old is a little bit cheaper. That already exists. It's called a sale. It is worth noting that surge pricing has contributed to a loss of customers for rideshare companies, airlines, hotels, and concert ticket vendors. Last time we were here, we talked about dynamic pricing. It's spreading, it's happening. The US isn't the only one trying to figure out how much things can cost. But big news, Chicago has officially 86'd the tipped minimum wage. The tipped minimum wage in Chicago was $9.48 plus tips. The citywide minimum wage now is gonna be $15.80 for employers with 21 or more workers and $15 for employers with 4 to 20 workers. Previously, restaurant owners were legally allowed to pay certain tipped employees less than the citywide minimum minimum wage and receive tax breaks. The idea was you'll make up the rest in tips, right? The opposition was obviously made up mainly of restaurant owners. Their main concern is that raising the base wage for tipped workers will hurt the ability for new restaurants to open and result in staff cuts and less of a tip pool. Supporters argue that allowing service workers to have a livable income and a better standard of living directly affects service. Here is the interesting part. The compromise was given, so the city and owners are given 5 years to implement this new wage policy, allowing time for independent businesses to adjust. You get 5 whole years to implement this, so it's not really the win that I was hoping for. How many people are not going to be in their server job 5 years from now? I'm guessing a lot. The one thing that all of these stories have in common, tips changing, surge pricing changing, random fees popping up, is that you have to look at the prices of things. I was looking at this article, Criminal and Absolutely Obscene Photo of $28 Beer on Menu at Airport Sparks Outrage by Emily Rella. Unbelievable. Full case prices for one beer. If there was ever a place where demand is elastic, it's beer at an airport. So many people were tweeting like, yeah, I couldn't believe it. I ordered like a beer, a salad, and a kid's meal, and it was $75. Did you not look at the prices beforehand? Yeah, come on now. You gotta look at the prices beforehand. And I understand, like, it is one of life's greatest luxuries to be able to go somewhere and just order whatever you want without looking at the prices. But now is not the time to be doing that. We do not live in that world right now. You gotta look at the prices of things now more than ever. Related to that, I thought this was kind of interesting. For reliable sushi, follow the California Roll Index by Christine Caron. So this is after extensive research of how much a California roll should cost, the average being $6.96 in Queens, New York. I thought this was fascinating because $7 for a California roll is also standard here in Arizona, and the cost of living difference between Arizona and New York is very high, so she might be onto something here. If through a perfunctory scroll of 5 or so restaurants, you notice one wildly outside the average price of $7, you can rule it out. If the cost of a California roll and therefore the rest of their food on the menu is much lower than average, I have reason to be a bit suspect. Is the fish of lower quality? Are the workers getting paid a living wage? It's not worth it to find out. I don't want to take risks with raw fish. A California roll at Nobu costs $22. It's not just a matter of looking at your tab and looking at the menu and looking at the prices before you order, but you might also want to look at the ingredients before you buy a new food, because California is 86ing red dye number 3. California lawmakers ban popular red food dye starting in 2027 by Justin Boggs. California legislation has decided to ban red dye number 3 found in 3,209 food products. Other chemicals to be banned include propylbaron. Propylbaron is the benzoate ester that is the propyl ester of 4-hydroxybenzoic acid. Preservatives typically found in many water-based cosmetics such as creams, lotions, shampoos. Another thing that's going to be banned, potassium bromate, KBRO3, is an oxidizing agent that has been used as a food additive, mainly in the bread making process. And finally, brominated vegetable oil, BVO. It is a vegetable oil that has bromine added to it. It is used in small amounts to keep the citrus flavoring from floating to the top in some beverages. The FDA says that all these chemicals are not a risk. The World Health Organization says dietary exposures to erythrocene, from which red dye number 3 is derived, for all age groups do not present a health concern. However, high doses do pose a risk. And who is getting high doses of red dye number 3 is children, because food dyes are really prevalent in kids' products like candy and sweet treats. Red dye number 3 is already banned in cosmetics here. So the way I see it, it's like, if you can't put it on your face, why should you be allowed to put it in your mouth? Red dye number 3 is already banned in the EU, aside from cocktail cherries for some reason. So maybe lemon lime soda might start to taste a little bit worse because there's no brominated vegetable oil in it and the citrus flavoring is floating to the top. But really, would that be so bad to level the playing field against giant food corporations? I bought a matcha latte product from the Amazon Big Deal days, and when I opened it, there is a safety seal. It says, by opening and using this product, you agree to be bound by our terms of service, which include an arbitration agreement. Arbitration is basically like, you can't sue us. Arbitration is like one of the stinkiest practices in American and worldwide brands. And so I'm actually gonna cut away now to a call that I had with a lawyer. All right, we're here with Shaheen Demouy, managing partner at Demouy Law Offices. What is arbitration?
In simplest terms, it's agreeing to have something less than going to court to resolve an issue. There's obviously forced arbitration or compelled arbitration. There's obviously permissive.
This has been a pretty rising trend, hasn't it? Like more and more companies just making you agree to an arbitration clause before you even do business with them.
There's actually legislation in 2022 where they're trying to stop it because of this exact sort of issue. A lot of times what you see is people are not aware oftentimes that they're entering into some sort of agreement by using a product or into a forced arbitration. They don't just have the ability to write whatever they want and curb any sort of law. So it's a little more nuanced than that. But as a general sort of theme, yeah, it's very problematic. They're hoping that people aren't going to take that extra step and go to that website, because I don't know if you've actually gone through their terms and conditions and read through it, but reading through it is problematic in itself. It basically is saying there's probably things in here that you're not supposed to have in your body. Things can definitely happen to you that shouldn't happen to you, but we're not responsible. That's all on you. Basically going through exactly all the potential negative side effects, some very extreme, right? And basically saying, not our problem, that's on you. This sort of disclaimer, if you actually were hurt by something, by this product, by their negligence in any way, this doesn't protect them. But again, when we're talking about multi-billion-dollar companies, their objective is curbing as much of that as they can, and obviously protecting their bottom line, right? So they're not going to make it super accessible. They're not going to have a whole, 2-paragraph, summary about all the negative effects right on there, because if you just look at that and you see all the stuff that can happen to you, a lot of people are probably not going to go ahead and buy it, right? So they're trying to think of a little bit of a workaround. They'll put the website on there that'll then go in depth as to how bad this stuff, lead, it's had lead before in it, much higher levels than allowed. So it's, from my perspective, it's their way of trying to maybe technically by the court's standard be abiding as a result of that lawsuit, but also not trying to scare a lot of their customers away by having that right in their face, right? And we see it a lot too with a lot of these food delivery services, HelloFresh. They also have forced arbitration included in their terms of service, which again, when you sign up for, as you see oftentimes, right, when you sign up for something, it's going to say agree to terms and conditions, right? Nobody's actually reading every single one. I mean, I'm an attorney. I'm not reading every single line of it, right? So there's the reality of it, and courts have recognized the reality of it, that people aren't reading this. Even a layperson, I mean, especially a layperson, even if they read it, the chance that they would actually understand exactly what it means is not very high. So there's a lot of challenges to be able to be made about this, right? But unfortunately, kind of the first thing that has to happen in order to do that is somebody's got to be negatively affected, right, as a direct result of it. So you kind of have to have that in order to kind of get that ball rolling in terms of challenging something like this.
Do you have any other heuristics or shortcuts that consumers who are overwhelmed by all this information and feel tricked by yet another up-and-coming influencer-backed brand, is there anything that they can do to protect themselves?
The sad reality of it is, as you said, it's becoming more and more common, right? We're hoping that legislation gives some safeguard to consumers. It gets messy to get that kind of legislation passed anyway. I'm not very hopeful in government providing that safeguard for consumers. So the unfortunate reality is you just have to do your research. You can never sort of just rely on company to do what they're supposed to and have the consumer's health and wellness at their paramount. You got to read these products. You got to see what's in your products before you consume them. That's the best way to ensure it, because again, nobody else is going to do it for you.
I did tag Vital Proteins in my story post complaining about this, and they jumped into my DMs being like, the terms of service have always been there, by the way. This is just a way that we let you know about them. And I asked, has the non-arbitration clause been part of the terms of service? And they completely stopped responding to me. And this is all right before this huge thing comes out, is the collagen craze harming the environment. They've been trying to do something called marine collagen, which is meant to be more sustainable, vegan collagen, which isn't collagen even to begin with, so it's kind of like false advertising. What I don't like is that this is just another case of the onus being put on you, the consumer, to like make the environmentally conscious choice when it's the industries who are just like making these choices. Companies really make us work for the truth. Finara believes that the only way to know if a product you're looking to buy is both a healthy and environmentally sound purchase is by doing your research. Quality is in the details. Look for reliable certification labels on the product, detailed ingredient sourcing, and manufacturing information on brand websites. And seek out brands that are authentic and transparent and how they engage with their customers. You know where that doesn't exist? Vital Proteins, where they're just like greenwashing the hell out of their product. We're kicking our scoop habit. Now what? They got rid of all the plastic scoops in their thing because it's just like, oh, we're contributing too much plastic. Hey, newsflash, dumbass. Your product is in a gigantic plastic tub. It's all still plastic. This is a minuscule amount of plastic compared to the actual tub. Use a regular old tablespoon. Yes, you already know this. And then look, there's down here in a little bit of fine print. Our lawyers told us that we need to include something down here in tiny font just to tell you that all of our serving sizes vary depending on your favorite Vital Proteins product. Be sure to check the label to ensure you're getting the correct dosage. So no, you can't just use a regular old tablespoon because different products have different serving sizes. 2 scoops of that matcha is 1 serving size, and those scoops are huge. And when you look at the nutrition facts and the back of the label, it says serving size equals 2 scoops. It doesn't say 2 tablespoons. It doesn't say a quarter cup. The unit of measure is scoop. And this is just so ridiculous. And they put this little like cheeky thing where it's like fun but serious legal copy so we don't get sued because your spoon might be bigger than our spoon. It's not cheeky. It's not cute. It's stupid. This is the stinkiest brand of the week for me. I am not buying anything from Vital Proteins ever again. Very effective influencer marketing. We're just like, look at me. I'm doing self-care. It's an expert in trendy influencer marketing. They've done everything right, except for make a responsible product that you can't even sue them for if it gives you like lead cancer or whatever the hell it's gonna give you. I hate it. In an effort not to end this one on a sour note, great news, everybody. The McRib is back. Oh, it's not back? Oh no. Okay, scratch that. I am now getting conflicting reports saying that the McRib is not actually back. Hey, you know what? That's actually even better news. The McRib is not back. Nice.